What's going on, everyone? Matt here for another episode of the PT Profit, Leverage, and a Lifestyle Show. I'm with an absolute superstar from near Chicago today, Mr. Reed Hansen. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on, man. I'm really excited.
Awesome. Thanks so much for jumping on. I know it's super early for me, but keen to dive into a couple of things. So just for context, for people who don't know who you are, do you want to give us a little bit of a summary of what you do now, what you've done in the past,
Sure.
to give us some context?
Absolutely. So, like I said, I'm Reed Hansen. I'm the owner and chief growth officer at Market Surge. So we help personal trainers, online coaches, and fitness professionals, in addition to small business and service business owners of various types. We help them with smart marketing systems, automation, and a sprinkle of AI magic, helping you to not be stuck between chasing leads and doing the work that you went into business to do. So before this, I ran a seven-figure photography studio and I led growth for some big name agencies. These days, I am really interested in helping trainers, small business owners build predictable systems that attract clients, nurture them automatically, and help them increase the conversion rates, and to limit the amount of cold calling that they have to do. I also, when I'm not working, I try to find some time not to work, but I do run marathons. I enjoy lifting heavy things, and I've been getting into boxing a lot lately, mostly classes, not actually getting hit. I really love all things fitness, and I know that the hustle is real for all fitness professionals.
Yeah, 100%. Well said, well said. There's a couple of juicy topics that we'll probably get into today. Obviously, AI. We'll no doubt discuss AI. We've got a couple of things on here about SEO as well. But one thing that I want to just talk a little bit about, you mentioned you're trying to kind of limit the amount of cold calls people are doing or personal trainers are doing. So that's going to be a nice juicy topic for a lot of personal trainers. So how would that work in terms of whether it's through your software or what your suggestions are to
Yeah, and that's a great question. I One of the suggestions I have is, like any good fitness professional, I would recommend warming up before you do anything vigorous. And cold calling is, people have a different relationship with telephone calls than they used to. It's can be startling to get a call from a number you aren't familiar with, and even further startling to be immediately pitched to when you answer the phone. So what I recommend is the use of as you've talked about in many of your podcasts before, the use of these funnels, so you can warm your leads up by prompting them to download something from your site, sharing something from your site, whether it's in email form. I'd say even a cold SMS text is a little bit softer than a cold call. Um, so by no means am I saying put less effort into outreach. I'm just saying that you want to warm up your lead to the extent possible before you get on the call. I still think there's value in cold calling, and I will still pick up phone numbers that I don't recognize just out of empathy, I think. But I, I, I think warming it up really helps smooth things over.
yeah, 100%. I'm on the opposite on the
Okay.
empathy side of things. I'll
Oh, sure.
in all honesty, if I'm like in a zone or something, and like because I work online obviously, so my phone's just kind of hanging near me. If I see
Uh-huh.
the phone ringer and I'm like doing something that's like semi-important, I'm not answering the phone. So I'll call them back, but like when I'm kind of ready and available. But you made some really good points there. I have a very similar philosophy. So I agree, like in terms of like nurturing the lead before having to, cold call them and have a not so much an uncomfortable conversation, but it's a easier conversation when they already know who you are and what you do a little bit more. So
Yeah.
in terms of nurturing, is that something that Like, do you have any certain avenues that you suggest doing that? Is that like through social media? Is that through text message? Is that through email? Like how would you kind of suggest or um
Yeah, all of the above. I provide a newsletter to my subscribers, so both my clients, current clients, former clients, and hopefully future clients that have I have a variety of guides for marketing for specific niches or specific technologies on my website that people can download. And that subscribes them to the newsletter where I keep them updated on the technology in our platform and the changes in the marketing landscape and in the AI landscape. So I share, I give, and and over the long term, I find that there is a great reward. I keep a database of about 20,000 people, and I will cull the list periodically for those that aren't responsive. But um, I keep and then I also have some sub newsletters for some specific niches that I work with as well. But texting, I also texting is expensive, and texting, as you probably know, is can be a little bit risky from a business standpoint. Where if you cold text too much, you can get restricted by the telecom carriers. And so I would use that sparingly, but occasionally. And if somebody has actually interacted with you personally, or like I said, downloaded something from your site or subscribed to a webinar, those are safe people to text occasionally. But people that you have not interacted with, I would keep with the email level and encourage them to opt into something, some additional communication you do, like some offer you have for them. So,
yeah. And with the email side of things, I think a lot of personal trainers this is like the last thing they think about, like email
okay.
marketing. This is something that I've been doing for a number of years now, but a lot of personal trainers they don't think it's valuable.
Hmm.
So and they obviously got their own mindset um on that side of things. But what do you say to people that think like email marketing is like dead or no one really opens emails these days? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, there is some truth to that. Like over the years, I have noticed, when I first got into working full time, I was working at a software company, and at that point, just a couple anecdotes. You could send a LinkedIn invite to anybody, and they would automatically accept. The novelty of a stranger wanting to connect was so cool, and that's those days are gone. And then you'd send an email, and that was almost that was worth a notification and worth acting on immediately. And I would get a very high response rate from a one-to-one email communication. And then as time has gotten by, more and more people have access to mass emailing tools that have kind of worn out our email inboxes. And in response, the email providers have put greater filters on these emails. And so you'll find more and more of your emails land in spam. Now, there's a few ways to get around that. And if I could bring AI into this conversation, there are tools that you can use that help AI to quickly bring in personalized snippets into your emails. That helps it does help the providers recognize you as a uh, unique sender rather than a mass emailer. So if you're sending personalized messages, it doesn't trigger a flag that you've been sending the same message over and over. And so any chance you can to utilize those technologies is really going to help your open rate. And people do still read email newsletters, but they have to actually have value. Don't send the same one over and over again. You make sure it's fresh news. Make sure it's I like having human faces on there, like your own face on there is good, or videos. embedded in the newsletter, those really help your open rates and make that email more valuable. But if you have an expectation of sending 10 emails and getting 10 responses, that is probably not going to happen. You need to think of 10 custom, very thoughtful, personalized emails, and then be ecstatic when you get 2 or 3 responses to continue. And I think I guess that's my thoughts on email. Is like have to lower your expectations. You do have some tools that you can send a lot more, but it's absolutely a great medium to share your brand.
Yeah,
So,
completely agree. Yeah, email marketing is good, and good long-term game
yeah,
for nurturing. So, um, do you mind sharing what that AI tool is um that does that stuff?
sure. Yeah, you bet. So if you've Uh, so it's a combination of 2 tools. It's Apollo and Clay. So one that I'm using right now is called Lemlist, which has so Apollo and Clay is probably the most popular on the market, but I've found this Lemlist is working really well for me at a very low price point. So what it does is you create these email sequences and you use a domain that is not your own. So you buy a domain. So I've got like Hello Market Surge and getmarketsurge.io. So it doesn't pollute my main email sending domain.
Uh,
Um, and then it allows you to put custom fields with personalized snippets, and then the personalized snippets it snatches from like a LinkedIn profile, recent social media post. So very, it's a great tool. And though I use a CRM and I definitely espouse a CRM, the CRM is almost like too precious to use on mass outreach, just because you do risk a little bit of authority or credibility on
yeah,
um,
yeah.
your main domain.
100%. Well, speaking of CRM, let's dive into a little bit about CRM because again, like personal trainers don't think about this stuff. A lot of personal trainers would just use like a Google sheet.
Oh, sure.
They do like all manual tasks, and they don't realize how much time they can really save on a CRM or automations and that type of stuff. So, for those who don't know, if we just start super basic, what is a CRM and what can you do with it? What's some of the benefits of having one?
Sure. So I'm trying to think when the first came out, but they so it's a customer relationship management system, and they allow you to monitor. So keep the activity and communications between you and the customer all in one place, because you'll recognize there's a lot of mediums for communication, and there's a lot of documents and information shared back and forth, but the CRM enables you to store all those in a single place and keep the customer and separately the customer's company as objects within this database. And so depending on if are you selling to a person or are you selling to a company, the CRM can accommodate either view. But it also, and actually, I know a little bit about the history because I worked for Oracle, and they bought a company called Siebel Systems that was one of the original pioneers of the CRM. And the CRM initially just was like a data repository. It didn't send anything out, but in the last 10, 15 years, it has been able to email out from the system. And in the last 4 or 5 years, it's been able to text and call out of the system. So you can actually integrate all of your inbound and outbound communications. Those calls can be recorded, those texts can be involved in all one conversation view. And whereas a 2025 conversation with any other human you interact with is going to involve some face-to-face, some phone conversation, and some text conversations. It's just nice to have it all in one place. Bonus, these automations you can send when, so say somebody's called and asked you for pricing for, how would 6 months of personal training look like? And you've done an assessment and given them pricing, or maybe you have a fixed engagement. And um, but then they disappear. Like in most businesses, like if you're in a retail business, you'd never see that person again. But if you've made this contact over email in the CRM system, you are now able to send reminders, follow-ups, additional information, requests for a future meeting, any prompt or additional discount you'd want to send to keep that sale alive. And so it is really the CRM concept. I think I'm sure there's some study on this, but it has definitely increased the amount of sales, especially small businesses are able to do.
100%. Like once when I started using a CRM, everything changed for me in terms of having everything in one spot, as you said. So it's super easy to manage, less stress as well, which is
Yeah,
a big value point for a lot of people these days. You don't want to be having to jump through all these different spreadsheets to get to the same information that you could get if you had just the one system. Um,
absolutely.
I'm super keen to dive into some SEO stuff.
Sure.
As I said before we started recording, SEO is kind of brand new to me. I don't really understand it,
Okay.
which means probably my audience doesn't understand it either. So
Okay.
I'd love to dive in. Again, if we start super basic, what is SEO? What can you do to improve it, and what does it look like if you do actually improve it?
Yeah. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. Um, Now this pertains primarily to having a website. So I asked Matt, and I've seen personal trainers that have their own websites. Some do, and a lot of gym owners do, of course. But individual personal trainers may or may not have their own website. Now, in order for this to be applicable, you will need to have a website. But don't fret, like on the CRM that Matt is using, you can definitely stand up a database, or sorry, a website pretty quickly and pretty easily. So just quick plug for Matt's CRM. But the now when you have your own website, um, who cares? There are people that can, back to the 90s, they type in like John Johnson's personaltraining.com and they'll get right to your website. But those people they probably also had your phone number and could have reached you anyway. But what is really important then, the value of search engine optimization, so that would be like a Google, a Bing, you want to be found for the terms that shoppers are looking for. So if you live in a town and somebody is looking for, if they're looking for a service, they're looking for a service near them or that's accessible to them. So they're looking for maybe they actually put in the term personal trainer, and that would be ideal. Now, if you're in the number one spot or even the top three, you have a very high likelihood of getting called or contacted from the person searching there. Now, below that, it drops off massively. I think I saw that like 60% of all searches, they end in the top three results. Um, and so this isn't even referring to the paid advertising. These are what we call organic results. Now there's I mean, I could go, so I just want to keep that at the basic level. Now, there are reasons that some websites are ranked higher than others. We can talk about those. But what's most important is the results of ranking higher, which is more leads, more contacts, more money to your business. Now, do you want me to keep going on this?
Yeah, well, let's
Or I can dive into what helps your ranking if that.
yeah, I was gonna say, how do you like obviously in the same that's natural, right? If you're searching something, you're just gonna click the first couple and then the rest don't even get seen, right?
That's right. That's right. Now, so it
Um,
would make it seem like it's like an endless loop, like you just can't break out of that. Well, there are a few things that you can do. Now there's technical, so on-page SEO or technical SEO. Now it's basically making your website easy to read by the Google and Bing search engines. And most of the time, if you sign up for a Squarespace or a website built on WordPress or that is on Matt's CRM, they are organized in a way where you have like these H1 headers and they have title tags. So you don't really need to worry about all that. Um, that that's kind of advanced, but you just want to make sure you do in fact have descriptions of your web page and what you do. You make sure that every field is populated that you're given an option to on the initial setup. You can continue to refine that, but you just don't want to. You want to make sure there's no blanks, and um, it's helpful to have your business titled similarly to the URL, or make sure that your business matches your the way you've registered, and then but most important for local SEO is to have your Google My Business page set up. And that's very simple to do. When you go into a Google search, you're logged into your Google account, click on the 9 dots at the top, and then it'll say My Business Profile, and you go in and you complete that. That will help your local SEO more than anything. And make sure that's current and updated regularly. Beyond that, so that's the technical part. Beyond that, there's the off-page part, which is really about authority and the strength of your brand. That includes backlinks, which is the people that have linked back to your website because they say like, so maybe you were featured in a local newspaper for like a grand opening or a something you did. They've linked back to you in hypertext. They'll say like local fitness professional, and it's hyperlinked. That goes back to your website. Those are great links, and it tells Google that you're worth referring to. And the more of those that you have, the better you will rank. I'd say on top of that, the better ranked that site is on the hyperlink, the better it will affect your site, the more beneficial it will be to your site. Um, then there is also the nature of the site, the how frequently it's updated. Google likes that. It likes when you have text on your site that is very relevant, that you're not um, that it's easy to use, and that you're not doing like a bunch of off-topic things on your website. Like if you're a personal trainer, you don't have like big sections of your website talking about other side projects. That it's very focused and easy to understand what you do. Um, so and so those are the basics, but seeking out opportunities to speak in public. My wife, who's a photographer, had an opportunity to do a TED Talk, which was a fantastic backlink. Um, and getting an opportunity to be listed in your local chamber of commerce, or um, anytime you're quoted, these are all great opportunities. So you can request opportunities to uh, guest post on other people's blogs, or um, you can do backlink sharing with other fitness professionals or friends, and that helps you both. So
Cool. Sounds like
yeah,
it's yeah, obviously definitely worth looking into by the sounds of it. Especially if obviously if people are searching specific keywords, you obviously want to take advantage of those people because they're
yes,
obviously pretty warm leads as well. If they're specifically searching for a specific thing, they're probably ready to
absolutely,
buy pretty quickly. So
absolutely.
I want to dive into AI and ChatGPT. We were
Great.
talking before we started recording about an exciting new feature that I think happened yesterday or the day before or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you want to give us some insights into that feature and how we can utilize that for our business?
Absolutely. So ChatGPT, which is uh, facilitated by OpenAI. So they just released the ability to create very high quality images in their basic tier. So even the free tier, you're able to access this. So now, why is that important? A big part of marketing is your branding, your visual branding, and um, honestly, like some people have a knack, some people have training. I have neither, so I'm like totally stuck. And so, I hire out that kind of expertise, but they can be very pricey projects and time consuming. Um, what ChatGPT so these AIs have been working up to this. Now you've probably seen AI generated like spoof videos, like somebody like a goofy politician doing something goofy, and then you can figure out it's not real. But um, when and then you've probably seen the poor quality AI images of recent years where they have seven fingers and part of it's blurry randomly and but honestly what this has been, and I've seen dozens of these people in the AI space that I follow, they're saying that this is like the level that it's truly becoming disruptive for marketing visualization. You can actually design, you can upload a photo and say, make it look like a Pixar version of me, and the quality is fantastic. You can add text, which has been hard to do in other image engines, AI engines. And the text is like spot on. It can read the font. It can recreate the font. It just does it with such hyper fidelity with this new release that you can generate beautiful images for ads, social media posts, blogs, your website, and it takes like 30 seconds. And whereas if you hired it out, you're minimum 24 hours. And I don't know. It's very exciting. It's not going to put graphic designers out of work, and I'm never pro like try to put people out of work, but this will really increase the amount of high quality branding, like creations that we can generate as small businesses.
Mm. And it's just another reason to jump on board with AI. Like it's not slowing down
Right.
anytime soon. In fact, it's only getting better. So, especially with people in business, you either adapt or you uh, you know fall backwards and go back to doing something else, or go back to another job rather than running your own business. So yeah, that's
Right.
super exciting. I have played around a little bit with the images, and you are right. Some of them are a bit average,
Right.
but I haven't tested it since the new update came out. So I'm super curious to see how it all works, especially with the text messaging. Because what happened previously was
Yeah.
if I got AI to generate an image for me, like the image was great, but the text, it was like some of it was, as you said before, some of it was blurry for some reason. I'm like, why is that small part of the image a little bit blurry? And then it duplicated some of the words. So it was just like those little things. I'm like, oh well, the image is great, but it stuffs up the
Yeah.
whole image by having these little things that are not not clear. And especially if people are doing like paid advertising and stuff, um,
Yeah.
it's going to be a big difference in terms of getting a cost per lead down, or even getting new clients. Speaking of like ads and stuff, let's dive into a little bit about funnels.
Sure.
So we were talking earlier about different funnels and lead magnets and that type of stuff. Um, why do you think most funnels fail? Like, what are some of the drawbacks on funnels that people are making these days?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for one, I think they're not thinking about the top of the funnel as much. Now, the as you know, the funnel concept is, you start with the most amount of reach and you filter them and qualify them until they become buying customer. Now, you have to really work hard to get the top of that funnel filled. And because obviously, the more people you have at the top, the more potential that gives the bottom of the funnel, which equals revenue. So that some people assume that they have like a great website or a great webinar, like they've done all the touch points correctly, but they haven't filled the funnel. So as you mentioned, like if you're going to go to the effort to create a high quality piece of content or a high quality offering or a very exciting offer, you may need to pay advertise. You need to definitely reach out to your network to share and um, to participate as well. Um, but it is that's where a lot of the legwork comes in, is getting the top of the funnel filled. Now, I think also the other concept is some people don't pay attention to the middle of the funnel very much, and that's the part where you are so you've gone from giving them something free or something very exciting to giving them something that's a little bit more about your service or your brand. And have you created good or have you shared good testimonials? Have you shared like yourself on screen? Have you offered like free consults? Spent some time with some of these people in the middle of the funnel, and and then finally, like when they are ready to start talking pricing, like um, are you looking at are you holding them accountable? You're setting deadlines, not deadlines, but like, you give them time frames that they agree to, and are you holding them to it? And, like, are you able to talk to them like they're an equal, like you are an equal to them, not you're begging for their business because you've already given them so much value. You have the right to ask for their business at the bottom. So one framework I like to think of is tofu, mofu, bofu. It's top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel. So if you have those three elements right, you're going to have a successful funnel. Um, and it's nothing simple. It's all hard work, but having the funnel concept in mind helps you organize yourself. Um, I would also add, like okay, so the offer sometimes is in question. Um, is your offer unique? Are you simply just offering uh, free a free session? And is that because I think a lot of personal trainers probably do the same thing that or a percentage discount. Like, why not make that something unique about you, or like a unique thing that you are able to offer, or like a unique challenge, a unique way to frame what you can do, like package your service a little bit differently, and make that offer at the very least memorable. Like they will say, "Oh, that's the guy that does the 37-day guarantee," or something like that. Like that would just stick in their skull, and like, that stickiness is good for an offer. Um, the, so at a high level, those are some of the problems I've seen. But I imagine that there's obviously some nuance to the personal fitness world. And I mean I've worked with a lot of personal trainers, and I'm just really glad to see Matt, you have created a community where they can do something that they love, and make a lot of money doing it.
Yeah, 100%. Um, and I thought I was going to say for a second, but I completely agree with the funnel stuff. This is what I was going to say. I was going to say even if to be a little bit different to what everyone else is doing, right? Use ChatGPT to come up with some different ideas for you as well. I use ChatGPT all the time for brainstorming ideas because if you just brain dump everything that you're thinking about and say, hey, can you just summarize the key points of what I'm thinking about? And you'll be surprised. It gives you a lot of clarity in terms of what you're wanting or the next steps for you. Even brainstorming a guarantee, you know, um,
Yeah.
it's really, really good. You pretty much have like a 24/7 worker like alongside your business essentially, and they can pretty much do most things.
Yes.
Not up to a standard of a full expert, but um, I personally use ChatGPT for a lot of brainstorming and clarification on certain things. Um, so yeah, if you're out there and not using it, then you're missing out. But I
Yeah.
wanted to quickly dive into CRM again. So obviously, as people know, we have our own CRM. You've got your own CRM as well, which is similar to one that I use, which is great. Um, what are some of the things that your CRM does that is working well for your clients?
Yeah. So one, tell me if you've already shared this with your audience, but I'm really liking the voicemail drops. So this goes back to our initial question about cold calling. So the CRM system actually has the ability, instead of placing an outbound call, you can record a voice message and simply drop it in their voicemail inbox. And so, as a part of a marketing funnel where maybe they've filled out an inquiry form, or this is on a long-term nurture, um, sometimes the novelty of a different form of outreach is just enough to make that switch. So you create an action. It's called a voicemail drop, and it has this technology where it rings the phone twice, hangs up the first call, and the second one automatically goes to voicemail, and your pre-recorded message just gets planted on their in their inbox. Um, I've also enjoyed using the chat bots. So there is one that's native to the CRM that we use, and then there are other third parties that you can plug in with a webhook. So basically, you instruct the chat bot with information about you and your business, and give it objectives, and it can field either um, so it can book appointments for you, or it could answer basic questions, and you can set up workflows that send out an initial SMS text, and then if they respond, then the chatbot can take the conversation from there and go either into qualifying the lead or booking. And so you could potentially trigger this with 100 different people at the same time, and your chatbot can handle that. Um, so these are great tools for reach and for time saving. Um, and like I said, with so many businesses, the one of the biggest problems is you're working all day, and like, when are you supposed to market or to take those sales calls? Like, you need some assistance, and um, these platforms just make that so much easier. So,
Mm. Yeah, I mean,
um,
for most of our audience, they're working in the business, 30, 40 hours a week. They've got no time to work on the business or to do the lead generation or the marketing, or, potentially take on more people. So they're literally missing out on potential business. Because in my experience, and I don't know how accurate this quote is, but I heard someone say it previously. It's like 80% of people buy from the first person that gets back to them on their
yeah,
inquiry.
yes,
So
I've heard something similar. And the first thing you can turn on in the CRM that we both use is the missed call text back, and that immediately when you miss a call, the text goes out and says, "Hi, I am Jennifer, and I'm sorry I missed your call. How can I help?" And transforms that lost call into a live lead. And
mm,
but with the AI chatbots, you can take that to the next step and respond to their response. So um, these are definitely technologies you should leverage.
yeah, 100%. So if people want to get more information about that software, where do they go? Do you have a website, or do you have Instagram or Facebook that they should go to?
I do. I think the easiest would be my website. It's marketsurge.co.